If you want to know how to build the discipline in any area, any aspect of your life, this is going to be a video for you. Most people think that disciplined people have more willpower, but they actually don't. When it comes to having discipline, it's not about having more willpower than the other. It's about systems. It's about strategies. It's about making the thing, whatever that thing is, your default. It's about raising your standard. And we're going to get into that. See, discipline isn't necessarily about wanting it more. It's about building an environment and a system where doing the thing becomes your default. Like I said, so when you wake up in the morning and you brush your teeth, that's a default. And I would hope that you brush your teeth and don't be walking around with stinking breath, stinking up people's atmosphere and personal space to blood clot. But it becomes the default. As a child, you're taught by your parents that you need to brush your teeth first thing in the morning. Then you continuously do it. As a kid, you might wake up one morning and, oh my goodness, you want to run and watch cartoons and you forgot to brush your teeth. As a child, I did that a couple of times and I got a knock on my head. And it always reminded me to brush my teeth first because I didn't like the way that knock on my head felt. If you're African, you can relate to that. That's a little punishment for the children. Right, then it became the default, and that's how discipline is built. You do things repetitively until it becomes your default, and there has to be consequences set up for if you do not do those things. So in the instance that I just gave you, the consequence was a knock on my head. So if I woke up in the morning and I wanted to do anything, go outside, play, watch cartoons, play with my siblings, do any of that before I brush my teeth, I always remembered that knock on my head, or I always remembered what the discipline would be if I didn't, what the consequence would be if I didn't go ahead and brush my teeth first. And that's how it became my default, right? Now, this is something that you want to remember when it comes to building discipline. You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. That's from James Clear. And I say that all the time, and that's something that I run with. Okay. Now, when we talk about discipline, we have to define discipline. Discipline is doing what you said you were going to do, even when you do not feel like it. That is going to the gym and doing the workout because you promised yourself at the top of the week that you were going to do 3 workouts this week. Okay. Now, we talked about discipline being setting it up to where it's your default. If you're a good parent, and I'm saying good parent because some parents are shit parents, and we're going to be transparent and we're going to be real. Some parents are shit parent, but if you're a decent parent to a good parent, you don't come home from work or wake up some morning and say, I think I'm going to do the things that a parent does. It becomes your default to do certain actions because you are a parent. So you take on those responsibilities. You decided to have a child. You decided to be a parent. Not every parent does this, but a decent to a good parent would be like, I decided to make this decision. I'm going to follow through on it. That's what discipline is. Following through on your responsibility, your promise to yourself. Okay. Now you have to remember that motivation is emotional. Discipline is behavioral. Motivation is when you feel like I feel like a certain burst of energy. I want to go to the gym today. I want to put in this work. I woke up feeling strong. I feel like that sometimes. I wake up sometimes and I feel like, yo, today's going to be a crazy day in the gym. I'm finna go there. I'm finna throw some weights around, and I go there and it's like that. And I feel good, but there's also days where I don't even feel like going, but I'm still gonna go because it's a promise to myself, and small drops of water make a mighty ocean. So every time I go, number one, I make it a promise to myself, and I'm keeping that promise to myself. So my mind, my body, everything trusts me because it knows I'm gonna carry out what I said I was gonna do, but also it's building up for the bigger picture. Okay, you can't build discipline by waiting to feel motivated. Now, some people say, like, I can't go to the gym, I'm not motivated, and they're waiting for it. That's not going to build discipline. That's not how you build discipline. Is it okay if there's times where you don't feel like where you're not motivated and you don't feel like doing anything? Yes, we're human. I had food poisoning. I stubbed my toe and I was limping. I also, on top of that, felt not motivated for a while, and I was out of the gym 3 weeks. 3 weeks prior to that, I was in the best shape of my life. But I literally forced myself at the end of this 3 weeks saying, okay, we got to get back into routine because this is going to stretch longer than it needs to. But it was okay for me to be a human and not be a robot for a period of time and just enjoy life. I wasn't motivated, live life like regular without a routine, but I have to push myself to jump into that or it's going to go on longer than necessary, right? When it comes to building discipline, you need to start ridiculously small. When it comes to my clients in my coaching program, we don't look at a grand picture. We don't look at losing 50 pounds. I might have a client, I have a couple clients that want to lose 50 pounds. I have a client right now that wants to lose 100 pounds. We don't focus on losing 100 pounds. We don't focus on losing 50 pounds. We focus on doing small, minuscule things that we could be consistent with, like taking a walk a couple times a week for 30 minutes, for 45 minutes, like making sure that we have our meals prepped on a Sunday so we don't have to be cooking in the week, like making sure that we put our workouts on the calendar on Sunday so we see visually that these are the time blocks for our workout so our body follows and we don't have to make decisions in the week of when can I throw a workout in. It needs to be ridiculously small. Your first goal isn't to be disciplined. Your first goal is to prove to yourself that you can keep a promise to yourself. If you can't keep a promise to yourself, you can't build discipline. I'm going to say that again. If you cannot keep a promise to yourself, you cannot build discipline. So the first 30 days of my program, I tell my clients, I need you to let go of whatever it is that you know, that whatever you've been trying, whatever that you have programmed in your mind, and I need you to let me take control for 30 days. I need you to trust me. Can you do that? Can you please give me your trust for 30 days? And in 30 days, I can guarantee you that I'll give you results that you have not seen in the near past, present, time, relative to the now. Right? Because I know how to do that. But in order for me to do that with them, I need them to trust me and I need them to let go. And, you know, a person said, if what you've been doing, I got this from Bob Proctor in one of his videos, where someone told him that if you're not getting the result that you want, then maybe you should let go of what you've been doing and try somebody else's way. Okay? So again, an example of that, of proving to yourself that you could trust yourself and you could keep a promise to yourself is, I said I'm going to work out 3 times a week. I said I'm going to drink X amount of water a day. I said I'm going to go for a walk every day or every other day. Those are small promises. Now, for someone who is trying to build discipline, and as someone who wants to build discipline in aspects of their lives, wherever that might be, if you cannot do these small things right here, you're not going to build discipline over there. And you might say, yeah, Quay, you know, I hear you, but like I'm disciplined because I go to work and, you know, I kill it in my career. Don't get it twisted. Don't get your dedication to your work confused with real discipline, because you have to do that. If you don't go to work, you don't get a paycheck. You can't feed yourself. You can't feed your kids. So that's not really discipline on will. That's discipline on you have to do that. It's not optional. Where you really build real discipline is where if you don't do it, okay, so what happens? If I don't go to the gym, so what? It doesn't matter. Nothing's going to happen. I'm not going to die. That's where real discipline is being built, okay? If you want to read a book, you want to get into reading more, you want to work on your communication, you could read a page a day. If you say that I want to work on my communication skills, I want to work on my articulation, I want to work on my dialogue, I want to work on my people skills, one way to do that is to read a book. If you cannot read a page a day, you're not serious about one. And I'm going to tell you that. This is not me trying to be nice and trying to cuddle things and make things all look very nice and cater to your emotions and your feelings. I'm going to be real, because if you cannot do these small things, then you cannot be serious about what you say that you're serious about. Because that's all it takes. Read a page a day. And if you cannot do that, your body, it's not about me, it's about you. You cannot keep a promise to yourself, and your body, your mind does not trust you. That's where the block is. So you have to know that right off the rip. Consistency is always better than intensity. You don't have to go 100%. If you know me, I always talk about 1% a day. You don't need to go and put in 50%. Again, I mentioned earlier, sometimes I go to the gym and it's not one of those days where I feel like I'm going to be the Hulk in the gym and throw weight around. Sometimes it's just going there. Maybe I might cut my workout in half. Sometimes I might not lift as heavy, but I'm still doing the sets. I'm putting in some percent, at minimum 1%, but I'm not going to not go, right? But the fact that I went and I still have that consistency, it's better than me going and trying to put everything 100%, be the Hulk in the gym, because that's unrealistic to do that every single day, okay? Remove the need for decision making. Remove it, omit it, get rid of it. It shouldn't be there. That's what I do for my clients in my coaching program. I remove decision fatigue by building a decision fatigue removal system. You don't have to think. My clients don't have to think. I've built a program based on every single individual one of them, their goals, what they're capable of doing, their lifestyles, what they can eat, their training capability, where they just have to execute. And I put it on a minuscule scale. It's not something grand, drastic that they have to do. Can we commit to these small things a day? Yes, I can, Quay. Boom. Now it just becomes on focusing on consistency. We don't have to focus on intensity. We can get there later, okay? Every decision you make consumes mental energy. So everything, my kids, waking up in the morning, work, my boss picking me up, the drive home, traffic, have to do workout after work, have to cook when I get home, have to cook for the kids, husband, needs, this, friends, problems, calls, girls, everything takes energy when it comes to making decisions. Therefore, you want to minimize the decisions that you have to make. You don't want to add more decisions to it. Okay, I say this one thing all the time, and I tell my friends, I say that, sorry, I was just getting a call. I say that when you wake up and you leave your house at the top of the day, you have 100% battery, okay? And you want to make it back home at the end of the day, or you want to make it to the end of the day with as much battery percentage as you can. You don't want your battery to die before you make it out, before you make it back home. So everything you're giving energy to, you want to be mindful of that, because by the time you get home, you're drained. Now your kids get the worst of you. Now your fitness goals get the worst of you. Now your own personal needs and everything get the worst of you because you gave everybody your energy. So you want to be mindful of that. Protect your energy at all costs. It's something serious. Okay, you want to create rules instead of constantly negotiating with yourself. You don't need to constantly negotiate with yourself. Should I do this? Should I do that? I feel bad if I don't do that. I'm going to the gym 3 days a week. Boom. That's the rule for this week. It's done. We don't have to think about it again. Period. Simple. Okay. I don't decide whether I'm training because it's already decided. 3 days. On Sunday, I decided that 3 days this week, I'm going to the gym Monday, Wednesday, Friday. There's nothing to think about. Okay. Now, your environment should make the disciplined choice easier. So you don't want to be around people that are eating fast food 24/7. You don't want to be around women that are going to brunch every day, every other day, every weekend, drinking bottomless mimosas. You know, they're growing horizontally gifted, whereas you're trying to get an hourglass shape. It doesn't coincide. It's like water and oil trying to make it merge. Now, if you keep staying in that environment, you're going to keep feeling conflict. You're either going to start abiding by their actions and doing what they're doing, or you're always going to feel conflicted. You're always going to feel bad about being with them. You're always going to wonder whether you should go with them. Be around an environment, get a support group, get a coach, get a friend that you can go to gym with, that their goals align or their actions align with the goals that you have for yourself. It's only making it easier for you. You want to build a system around your weakness. That's something that you need to do. So stop saying, I'm just not disciplined. It's not that you're not disciplined. Ask yourself, where does my system break down? If you skip the gym because you're busy, schedule it. Schedule it. I tell all my clients, I want to see your workouts on the calendar on Sunday night. I don't want you to get into the weekend and think, okay, let me put in a workout where I feel like I can get to. Because when work gets busy, and I'm going to say this, I always say this, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Period. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. You need to embed it so that it's an actual plan that can be carried out. That's the least that you can do if you're serious about your goals. Okay? If you eat poorly because you're hungry, prepare your food. Meal prep. Nobody, when they're starving in the middle of the day or at the end of the day, because they're overwhelmed, the cortisol's high from work and all the stress that's been going on. Nobody says, I want to eat chicken and salad at that period of time. Nobody says that. You want to eat carbs. You want to eat something sweet. You want to eat something good. You want to eat something nourishable to the body. You want to eat something convenient. You're going to grab the first thing that's there because you failed to plan. You didn't plan because you planned to fail. Because you failed to plan. They go hand in hand. So you want to make sure that you're setting yourself up for success and you're building systems around your weakness so you don't have to use mind power during those times. Okay? If you procrastinate, remove distractions. Remove decision making. Just remove it completely. How can I remove it? Because you planned it. You systemized it. You structured it. You got a coach that could do it for you so you don't have to do it. That's how you do that, okay? You don't want to rely on willpower to solve a system problem. I promise you that. A system problem needs to be solved with a system in place. Willpower will not solve that. Motivation comes and goes and you don't know when it's going to come. You don't want to be a victim of waiting for motivation, talking about I haven't been motivated, all right? Also, again, we talked about this. Keep promises to yourself. This is the psychological part of being disciplined. Every time you say that you're going to do something and you don't, you weaken your self-trust. Every single time. It happens so much that people don't even believe they could do certain things. And when I'm having conversations with people, I just can't believe the things that are coming out of their mouth. But I do believe it because I know the psychological part. They've been convinced so long for such a grand amount of time that they cannot do this specific thing that they literally just don't think that they could do it. They're literally talking in their action. I'm hearing I cannot do it because their body doesn't trust them. And every time you follow through on what you say you're going to do, you strengthen it. My discipline, the psychological aspect of my discipline knows that when Quay says he's going to do something, it's already done. If I say that I'm going to do something against anybody or like I make a promise and you make a promise, you're done. You're done. That muscle is too strong in me. You're not fucking with it. I promise you that. When I put my mind to it, boom. I'm going to give you an example. I locked in with my coach and it was a while after I had been locked in on my own goal. So I had finished that goal and I told him right when we were starting, I said, listen, I just finished my goal. I've been locked in for a couple of months, 3 months, whatever, a little bit over that. I said, I'm about to go eat over this weekend. I'm going to eat crazy. I'm going to put on some weight. But after that, I'm right back to it and we're going to lock in. I put on like 11 pounds in like 48 hours. And he was nervous because we were just starting and he's never worked with me before. So he didn't know if this was going to be a consistent thing that I was going to be falling off on the weekend, saying I was going to do this and then not doing it and then having these outrage outbursts with food. But that was it. I said I was going to be back on Monday and Monday I was back on it and it never happened again. When I say I'm going to do something, boom, it's not we don't have that. He might have been worried because he doesn't know me. We're working together for the first time. But anybody who really knows me, when I say something, it's already done. Because the psychological part I've mastered, I've kept promises to myself for so long, I don't need to think about it. Discipline is essentially self-trust accumulated over time. Again, it's your body trusting your word. If discipline is hard for you, that means your body does not trust that you are going to do what you say you're going to do. And that's where the problem lies. It's not about the goal. It's not about how many times you could do this. It's not about having the best discipline. It's why can't your body trust you when you say you're going to do something? Why? Because you've been coming short and because you've been disappointing yourself for so long. Why? That might be because the systemized aspect is too grand. Maybe it's not small enough. Maybe it's too large. Maybe you don't want it bad enough. Maybe you don't have a deep why. Maybe it's not as important to you as you say. Maybe it's your paradigm. Maybe you need a paradigm shift. There's so many different aspects, but when you sit with somebody or you sit with yourself and you really ask yourself these questions, why am I struggling with this? You have to ask why like 100 times. I promise you, that's a key tactic to discovering the underlying truth of yourself and getting to the bottom layer of problems in your life. Keep asking yourself why. Every time you get an answer or a result, ask why, and you'll get to the bottom, the crevices of that problem. You need to create consequences. Like I mentioned earlier, I would get a knock on my head as a child if I were to wake up and not brush my teeth and come watch cartoons. Consequences need to be put into action. Some days I'll just be like, my discipline is not feeling as sharp as I want it to be. I'm doing this for 30 days. That might be me going on the treadmill for 30 minutes, 30 days in a row. If I miss a day, we're starting all over again. You have to create consequences because for you, some of you, again, like I said, some of you think you have discipline because you go to work every day or because you kill it at your job. In your career, like you're doing good, but like I said, you don't have a choice. If you don't show up and execute, you don't get a paycheck, you don't get to eat, you don't get to feed your family, so you don't have a choice, right? There's a consequence there. But when it comes to your fitness goal, when it comes to losing that 30, 40 pounds, I'm not gonna die. I still get attention from the opposite sex. I still get opportunities. And that's why you can't excel. And that's why you're going to be stuck at where you're at for who knows how long. Right? Sometimes you need an accountability partner. If you don't have an accountability partner, you have a coach. I specialize in accountability. My discipline is so intact and it's so good, and I'm an expert at discipline that I am able to hold other people accountable. I am able to build systems that allow the execution for others to be easy. I specialize in holding clients accountable. That's what I do for career-driven women and busy professionals. I hold them accountable to what it is that they say they're going to do. I know some of my clients can't stand me. I know that. I don't give a damn. I made a promise to you that I'm going to hold you accountable as long as you're in the duration of the term that we've agreed with in the coaching with my program. I will not allow, I am too conceited and too selfish. I don't really have an ego as a man. As the average man, I would say my ego is pretty low in comparison to other men. And the reason for that is I feel like ego doesn't really help you. It kind of there's just too many negatives and too much cons. But for business, I have too much of an ego to let you say you came into my program and I didn't hold my end of the bargain, and that's why you weren't able to propel closer to your goals. I won't do it. I won't allow that. I'm going to do everything that I tell my clients that I'm going to do, whether they want to do it or not. If you change and you don't want to lose your 40, 50 pounds, your 100 pounds, that's on you. That's not on me. I'm going to do everything that I can to help you. But at the end of the day, you could only bring the horse to the water. You can't push the horse's head in the water and say, drink that, drink that. You can't do it. Right? And that's just the level of standard that I have for myself. My client might not have that level of standard for themselves, and that's okay. I don't need them to, but that's the level of standard that I hold myself to. And I'm assuming that they want to work with me because they want to be able to have certain level of standards when it comes to their fitness and nutrition that they could elevate to, or that they could rise to, right? And that starts with executing and doing the small things, doing the promises to yourself that you set, okay? Now, one thing that I also do that helps me with becoming more disciplined is I set a public commitment. I'll say out loud, this is what I'm going to do. I'll tell somebody, I'll put it on social media, because I know when I put it on social media, I'm not going to embarrass myself. Again, that comes to the level of standard that I have for myself. I'm not going to embarrass myself, because then if I keep on doing that, people will be like, yo, I'm not taking this guy seriously. He always says he's going to do these things and he never does it. I'm not going to do that for myself. Someone else might want to do that, but I'm not going to do that. So when you make a public commitment, and an example of a public commitment, like I'll put on the camera when I'm in the gym and I'm going to do a set, right? And I'm recording it, whether it's going to go on my Insta story or wherever, it's going to go somewhere public. All of a sudden I get more energy. I get more strength. I don't know what it is. When I press record and I'm in the gym doing a workout, there's just more energy there, and I always perform better because I know someone's watching, and I know I have a level of standard that I hold myself to. I can't bitch upon myself. I personally just can't do it, right? Also, when it comes to making a promise to yourself, tracking. People don't want to step on the scale because they don't want to see the reality of what the scale is showing them. The scale is only showing what you're doing. Ladies, if the weight is going up, you know it's because you're on that cycle. That's gonna happen. That's inevitable. That's always gonna happen. You know, I don't want to hear those bullshit excuses about like, oh, I get anxiety when I step on the scale because no. See, the fitness industry is letting you think that that the scale is causing anxiety. No, the scale is not causing anxiety. The scale is telling you the truth. The scale is telling you the unbiased truth of what you're doing with your nutrition, and you don't want to face the truth. It's telling you what you're doing. Your execution in the week is bringing your weight up. If you're not on your cycle, that means something needs to change. That's how I coach, right? So what one person is saying is giving them anxiety. Another person is saying, this is how I coach. If my client jumps on the scale, that means that the execution and the number is showing a number that I don't expect to see, that I don't project, and that they don't want to see. That means the execution is not what it should be. We need to change something, right? Now, it could be internal. It could be internal, but I would know, and I would say, okay, cool. If you're following the plan and everything is happening as we've said it to, then you might need to go check with your doctor. Something might be happening internally. The scale is our friend. The scale wants to work with us. Like, and don't get me wrong. Like sometimes I see the scale, like, and I'm like, man, I feel like it should be down more too. But at the end of the day, I don't get mad at the scale. Why would I get mad at the scale? The scale is only telling me what I'm doing. The scale is only telling me that I gotta have patience, because sometimes you might not lose a pound in a week, even though you're in that caloric deficit. But guess what? On week 2, you lost 3 pounds. You lost that 1 pound that the week it didn't move. Then you lost another pound for that other week and an additional pound because you were consistent. So instead of saying, oh, the scale gives me anxiety, maybe you need to be saying, I can't be consistent, and the scale is going to show me that, and I don't want to see that. That's the reality, right? You set up a reality for yourself where making quitting is not the easiest option, okay? Now, in doing that, it's always having a strong why. I always tell my clients you need to have a strong why. If you have a strong why, like if I say I'm doing this for my mother, I say I'm doing this for my sister, I say I'm doing this for my nieces, I say I'm doing this for my family. I have a strong why of why I'm getting rid of this weight because I want to be healthier for my kids. I want to have the energy to play with my kids. I want to fit in that outfit that's collecting dust in my closet. I want to show up as the confident person that I am because my staff look at me as a leader, and I be confident in leading where we're in the boardroom. But when it comes to my physical weight, I don't feel as confident. Whatever that why is, you need to set that up so those days where you don't feel like executing what you're supposed to do, you remember that why, and it kicks you in the ass, and it gives you a little bit of that push to do what needs to be done, okay? Also, you want to learn to tolerate discomfort. You want to learn to tolerate discomfort. So you need to put yourself in a position where you're comfortable with the uncomfortable. Now, I talk to some people and they don't want to go to the gym because they feel embarrassed that they're going there and they don't know what to do. That's okay, right? The only way you're going to get more comfortable being in the gym is going to the gym. The only way you're going to get comfortable with the machine at the gym that you don't know how to do is by getting on it and figuring it out, right? I'm gonna tell you how. Like, I don't have time to waste. Like, I don't have any time to waste. I'll get to a grocery store, I'll walk in, and I'll ask the first staff that I see, where is this? They'll tell me it's all the way down over there. I'll walk like half that way, see another staff, and ask them, where's the same thing? Just in case I might have missed it, I don't want to go all the way there, and they're like, oh, it's all the way back there. Or just so that next staff could tell me, like, yeah, it's in that direction that you're going right now. I don't want to waste time. I'm uncomfortable saying, like, I don't know. I don't work here. What the hell? I don't know where it is. If I did, I wouldn't ask you. So why would I be embarrassed? I'm putting myself in positions where I could feel uncomfortable because I don't care. I don't want to waste time, right? I do it so often that it doesn't even occur to me. Like, it doesn't, like, someone might be like, oh, I don't want to ask, or what other people feel discomfort in, like, I don't feel discomfort in because I put myself in those positions so many times. So I say that to say, put yourself in those positions to feel uncomfortable so that you don't feel uncomfortable, okay? It teaches you that discomfort isn't an emergency. Like, you don't need to be like panic. Oh my goodness. Like, I don't want to ask this person this. This person's looking at me. Oh my goodness, I'm in the gym and I don't know what to do. This person on the treadmill in the corner over there is going to be, they don't care about you. They came there to do what they're doing. They're on that treadmill to lose weight, to boost their cardiovascular endurance. They're not worried about you. The only reason they might look at you and give you attention is if you start doing some goofy shit. But if you play it normal and you're doing what you're doing, or if you say, you know what, I don't know what I'm doing, let me just ask. They're not going to look at you, oh my goodness, that person over there doesn't know what they're doing. Let me stop my cardiovascular endurance enhancement to give them some attention. It doesn't work like that. I promise you that. On anything I love. I promise you that. You know, there's going to be times where you're going to be tired. There's going to be times where you're going to be busy. There will be times when you're going to be bored. There's going to be times where you feel unmotivated, like we talked about earlier. Do the thing anyway. There's a saying that says, do the thing and you'll get the energy to do the thing. And I promise you, every time I've done the thing, I've never regretted it after. Okay? You want to have a minimum standard. We talked about standards earlier. This is a powerful concept right here. Okay? When you have that minimum standard, you're going to rise to the, you're going to rise to that. You're going to fall to that standard. Instead of rising to your goal, you're going to fall to the standard. So you keep increasing your standard. Your standard is pushing you to your goal. Okay? You don't need to think about rising over here, because sometimes this is too far up. It's too big for you to get. You've never got there. But you can rise to your standard, and your standard is going to push you to your goal. Setting up 60 minutes of a workout 3 times a week, 10K steps, drinking X amount of water a day, going on a walk. Those are reading a page a day for a book, working on your communication for 30 minutes a day, 8 hours of sleep, 7 hours of sleep. Those are more hours of sleep than you got the night before. 30 minutes more, 45 minutes more. Those are small steps that you could do, okay? If you can't do the grand thing, you do the bottom half. If you can't do 10K steps, you do 5. You can't sleep for 8 hours, you do 5.5 or 6. You do more than you have been doing. You just push it up a little bit. You've been sleeping 4 hours on average. Your new standard is now 4.5 hours. You walk about 3,000 steps a day. Your new standard is now 4,500 a day. That's not too much. It's not gonna. Now, if you're walking 3,000 steps a day, 10,000 might be a lot for you, because you got to triple that now. But if you think about, okay, let me just take it from 3,000 to 4,500, that's doable. Okay? Never let a bad day become a bad week. Never let a bad day become a bad week. There's so many people, I'm going to start again on Monday. You don't need to start again on Monday. Start the next day. I'm going to start on the beginning of the month. I'm going to start January 1st. No, you don't need to do that. Start the next day. Start the next week, right? If it's no, when I say start the next week, I don't mean like, okay, you failed on Monday, Tuesday, I'm waiting till next Monday. I mean, it's Friday, Saturday, you ate bad over the weekend. Start on Monday. Back to it. It's really that simple, okay? And you want to track. Make sure that you're tracking. When you track things, it's easier for you. It's an accountability system. It holds you accountable to what it is that you say that you're going to do, okay? Don't obsess over the scale, money, followers, all these things that are a grand goal. Like I said, you set your standards, and then you start asking yourself, did I train today? Did I read today? Did I drink more water than average today? Did I do the thing today? Did I keep my promise to myself today? Those are things you start asking yourself. And if you're not doing that, then you have to ask, why was I not able to do that? What about executing that plan, goal that I said I was going to do caused me to not do it? Then we got to reverse engineer, or we got to look at what that is, and we got to fix that. Okay? The outcomes take time. Getting to 10,000 steps a day, if you're doing 3,000 on average, is going to take time. You just have to ask yourself a day, did I do 3,000? Did I do 4,500 steps today? Because that was the plan. Was I able to sleep for 4.5 hours today? Was I able to sleep for 6 hours today? Why? What was my night routine like? What was I doing right before bed? What kept me up? What allowed me to not sleep that extra hour and a half? And that's what you got to get rid of, okay? Because behaviors are what you can control. Whatever kept you up, unless it was like your baby was sick, throwing up all night, you were doing something that kept you up that didn't allow you to get the sleep that you should have got, so you could have the adequate amount of energy for efficient execution the next day. You were on TikTok scrolling. That's what you were doing. You were watching Big Booty Ebony's on X. You were doing all of those things. And that's what caused you to not get to bed on time and have the adequate energy to either wake up and do your morning workout or to have to wake up full of energy. And I'm not saying it doesn't happen for me too. Of course, there's days where it's like, yo, I should be on bed on time, but I'm working till the last minute. And then when it's the last minute and I should be sleeping, I want to unwind. What do? I got to cut my work time earlier. It's not easy, but it's not difficult. Okay? Expect setbacks. There are going to be setbacks. You need to know that there are going to be setbacks. Not everything is going to be 100% easy down the rail, and it doesn't need to be. Okay? Don't expect perfection, right? Expect consistency. Remember what we talked about earlier? Consistency is better than intensity. Okay? Missing one day doesn't mean you're undisciplined. If you can't, and this is why I tell my clients that they should put their workouts on the calendar on Sunday, because if they miss Wednesday, then if they have Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, then we can move Wednesday to Thursday. We can move Wednesday to Saturday. We can move Wednesday to Sunday. Okay, it's there. It's okay. Life happens. I have like, if you look at my day is scheduled every single day from 5 a.m. to 10:30 p.m. every single day. Monday to Friday, and on the weekends I wake up at 6 a.m. and it's scheduled all the way till the evening. You won't find no ideal time. I don't have no idle time. Now, somebody might come and invite me to something. Something might happen in the week that takes me away from my schedule, and that's okay. I'm not a robot. I don't need to execute it like this, but that's for me to have discipline. That's for me to have standards. That's for me to have systems. That's why I get better at the things that I want to do so easily without thinking about it. Every Wednesday at 1 o'clock, we're having a communication lesson where we're studying communication for an hour, right? I don't have to think about it. Every Wednesday at 5 p.m., we're working on sales. We're working on a review of our sales calls. Every Monday, every morning at 8 a.m. to 9 a.m., we're working on sales tactics, on how to be better at sales. Every morning, I'm waking up and I'm doing client accountability. But if I miss it for one day, it doesn't mean I'm undisciplined. It just means that I'm a real human in real life going through real stuff. That's all that means. But if you don't have that system for you to follow, it's chaotic. Everything's everywhere. You're trying to make things happen here and there. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Okay? The problem is when one bad decision becomes your new identity. Oh my goodness, I didn't do this. Oh my God, I'm a failure. I didn't go to the gym. I didn't do what I said I'm going to do. Like, fuck it. I give up. You can miss once. You're allowed to. You're a human. Don't miss twice. Don't miss 3 times. Okay? Get back on track immediately. Okay? Now, if you're a busy professional, okay, your problem probably isn't that you don't know what to do. I'm going to assume that you know what to do. Okay? You know you should train. You know you should eat better. You know you should sleep more. Your problem is that you haven't built a system that allows you to do those things consistently while managing everything else in your life, while killing your career, okay? While tending to your kids, okay? While doing other things that exude a lot of energy out of you. That's where discipline becomes a structure problem and not a motivation problem. You don't have a structure with systems embedded in it for you to build that discipline, okay? So that's what you need to do. Discipline equals clarity, okay? Small commitments, systems, environment, accountability, repetition, self-trust, okay? Now you have to remember, discipline isn't something you're born with. And I shouldn't even say you remember because I don't think we touched on this, but this is something that I could brag and boast and talk the most with the most utmost confidence about my discipline because it's really that. Like I'm really like that when it comes to discipline. Okay, but I wasn't born that way. Okay, discipline isn't something that you're born with. It's evidence you collected by repeatedly doing what you said you were going to do over and over and over and over. So if you're saying you're going to do something and you're not doing it, you're actually working against building discipline. Your body doesn't trust you, and that becomes a problem of its own. Okay? You deserve to be in the best shape of your life. And if you need help with your discipline, with your training, with your nutrition, with your habits, you can go ahead and comment recomp, or you can reach out to me on Instagram, or you can send me an email at bodybyquay@gmail.com and say, I need some assistance with what it is that you need, and I will reach back out to you to see if or how I could help. Peace.